Coming from Asian, like immigrant family, we never really say I'm proud of you
Right.
or I love you. So like it's just so weird. Like when my dad, like as an adult now, tells me this one time he said he was proud of me, like I was like literally sobbing
Oh my
because
God.
I'm like, I'm not used to this. This is like you never said this.
Today, we're welcoming my good friend Chelsea Hung, owner of San Francisco Chinatown's iconic R&G Lounge. She wasn't always a restaurant owner, though. 7 years ago, she left a comfortable tech career to pursue entrepreneurship, becoming the youngest board member of San Francisco Chinese Chamber of Commerce. We'll explore how her childhood and family legacy shaped her path, how she navigates the challenges of modern business, and her mission to inspire the next generation to keep the historic heart of Chinatown alive. So excited to have you here, Chelsea. Thank you for being on our podcast today. Maybe we could just start with telling us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm Chelsea Hung. I'm a San Francisco native. I currently am the second generation owner of R&G Lounge.
How was your childhood like?
I had a lot of happy memories. It was really good. Some of my favorite part about the early stages of my childhood was honestly the simple things. My parents coming home from work. My mom, every time she came home from work, even though no matter how tired she was, she would always cook a home cooked meal with like 4 dishes, a soup. So there's always a huge variety. And she's honestly one of my favorite cooks. Just having dinner at a round table at home with my dad, my mom, and my siblings. And then the Chinese news would be playing in the background, and we would just be chatting because since my parents worked so much, that was our only time to really connect. Also, I think another great memory in my childhood was that my parents were really big on traveling, especially exposing me and my siblings to have like a more open perspective on the world. And it really taught me a lot about food and culture, which has played a big impact about what I do now. So I really appreciate that, they worked really hard and they always tried to save up so that we can go travel as a family. However, those all kind of became distant memories because eventually my parents did end up divorcing. So that also played a really huge impact.
What was the most challenging part of your childhood?
Like a lot of Asian immigrant households, we tend to really suppress our emotions and really not talk about sensitive topics, act like everything is okay,
Right, like
which
sweep it under the rug, like as
yeah,
if it never happened. Yeah.
exactly. There's kind of that like quote unquote conspiracy of silence where you feel a lot of emotions, whether it's like anger, confusion, sadness, but you feel obligated to just bottle it up. And I realized that a lot of things that are unspoken and like trauma that has been unhealed, you tend to end up passing it down, and it tends to come up in a lot of decisions you make, relationships that you build.
What did you have to unlearn to become who you are today?
Silence is not the same as being strong, and to be able to use my voice to lead and advocate and take up space. Expressing your emotions doesn't make you weak. It only actually makes you stronger. And that actually a lot of people kind of go through very similar things as you.
Yeah.
So as you talk about it with people you trust, it heals a lot of open wounds. When I have a family in the future, I hope that I can create a space for them where they feel comfortable enough to share with me their problems, their struggles, their successes, and for me to, be able to be there for them and create a comfortable space for them to share their emotions so that they don't have to carry their traumas
Right.
like many of us did. But it's also, I understand, because with immigrant parents and us being so privileged to be here, there's also somewhat of a cultural language barrier. But with like our future generations, if they're going to be growing up here, it probably is easier
For
to talk
sure.
to.
Yeah. I mean, I have kids, so looking
Yeah.
at my kids, it's a lot easier to communicate with them, and it's not as uncomfortable. I remember back then with my mom, like when I was going through puberty and all these things, and she was trying to talk to me about these things. It just felt so weird, you know?
Yes.
But with my kids now, it's like, yeah, it's fine, it's open. And, you know, we have the same, we communicate on the same language. And that was the other thing because my mom, she only spoke Cantonese.
Right.
And when I was growing up, I was only speaking English.
Exactly.
So when she was trying to talk to me in Cantonese, I was trying to talk back to her in English and maybe my broken Cantonese, but it was very uncomfortable too.
Exactly.
You know, like how do you say sex in Cantonese?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's that language barrier too, because, you know, even though I know Cantonese, but really talking about like deeper emotions and struggles, it's kind of hard to like get across.
Right.
Like, are your kids comfortable sharing with you like their day to day and, you know, what they go through?
Yeah.
And how did you create that environment?
Yeah, actually, my kids they're very open with me, but I think it's because I'm more of like a very I guess I'm a chill parent. I'm not the overbearing tiger mom. I'm not the one that's like, oh, you have to get straight A's, you have to do all these things. You know, like if they get a B, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't know if that's the right way of parenting, but it's just because with me personally, selfishly, I'm always so busy that I have so many things in my mind that the last thing I'm thinking about is like, are you perfect here? You know,
Right.
so because I'm not overbearing, because I'm not so strict, and I'm not always like the tiger mom, I think they appreciate that. And so they're very open and willing to share things with me. If anything, it was awkward for me to ask them like private things in the
Right.
beginning because I was not used to that. You
Yeah.
know, like I could talk to you, I could talk to any of my
Right.
girlfriends, I could talk to like my friends, and I'm so open. But with my kids, it just felt weird. Like, you're my kid, I shouldn't be talking to you about this. But then now, like, yeah, because I'm the more chill mom and more open minded to everything, and it was something that I had to overcome myself internally. That was a pattern of mine that I felt like, oh, well, they're the kid, you know, there should be like a hierarchy. It shouldn't be like, oh, we're equals, which is, I don't know, it's the Asian culture.
Yeah.
It's the filial piety stuff. Like they always have to respect me. But the
Exactly.
truth is like, you know, I'm in child development. Like I don't do this with other kids, but for some reason with my kids, it was hard. But now I've created that. So now I look at them as just equal humans, individuals. Of course, there has to be a little bit of respect, but regardless, like because I have that relationship with them, it's very easy to talk to them now. And I look
That's
at them
good.
like we're friends, really. Yeah, that's what it comes down
That's a
to.
really great relationship. So do you tell your kids that you're proud of them or that you love them?
Yeah. So, okay, when they were kids and when they were babies, it was so easy to say I love you because they're so cute. Like you
Yeah.
want to say I love you. But when they become older, they're not that cute anymore. They're just like living in your house rent free. And it's like, okay. I was really worried about how they were going to grow up later. I was worried about my son in particular because he irks me. Like he is just so like, his energy's like this and my energy's like that. And so when we're like this, it just doesn't match. And so I used to always scold him, but it's nobody's fault. The way that I was reacting to them was because of my generational trauma from my mom, my grandparents, and all that stuff. It's just what we learned, and we're human. Like we absorb what we learn when we're in childhood, and then we bring it into adulthood. But at the end of the day, it's not our fault. And so when I learned that, and I was able to have compassion for myself, that's when I was like, okay, like I got to stop this generational trauma. I got to stop doing this to my kids. And now I just say, I love you. I say, I love you in text. I say, I love you when they go to sleep. I say, I love you when they leave. I say, I love you whenever we're just chatting. But I think it's a great thing for them. And
That's
it's good that we're doing it while they're still fairly young.
Yeah. As a child and also coming from Asian, like immigrant family, like we never really say those words like I'm proud of you,
Right.
or I love you. So I think a lot of times that like as a child I would just try to be like an overachiever.
Yeah,
and
100%.
just carry a lot of weight of like expectations, even though they may not be directly telling me like I need to do this, this, and this, or like they expect me to do this and this. But I felt like in order for me to get their love and affection,
Yeah.
I had to like get straight A's. I had to like just try to be like the best at everything, which also puts a lot of stress and pressure on myself as a kid. Like obviously I didn't think that growing up, but now looking back at it. So like it's just so weird like when my dad like as an adult now tells me this one time he said he was proud of me, like I was like literally sobbing
Oh my
because
god.
I'm like, I'm not used to this. This is like you never said this. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah. So that's why I was just wondering. I'm like, it shouldn't be that taboo or like
Right.
that rare for your parents to say that to their kids. Yeah.
I think it's just our culture,
Yeah, for
really. Like,
sure.
because I don't think it's just us. When I talk to other like children of Asian immigrants, very similar situations. Like, they never say like "I'm proud of you" or like "I love you" really seldom. And the "I'm proud of you" part, I think that also comes down to like for me, like I self diminish a lot and I
Yeah,
minimize
same.
so much stuff. Like because I feel like, oh, it's not that big of an achievement or it was not that
Right,
great.
me too.
Even though the outside world is like, what are you talking about? Like, it was crazy. It was amazing. You did all these things. Look at that. But for me, I'm like, oh, that's not good enough.
Yeah, I always tend to downplay a lot. I feel like I also sometimes have like a hard time taking compliments.
Exactly.
Like someone will say a compliment and I'll be like, "Oh, no, it's not that big of a deal." Or like, "Oh, no, it's whatever, whatever." Like, but then I should just be able to like accept it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. If you don't get the attention you need, if you don't get the love you need, because our parents were busy, right? Like we
Right.
mentioned. And when they're busy, let's just say you're like, oh, like I want a hug, but your parents go, oh, I'm so busy, they're gonna walk away or whatever. As a child, you think, oh, I'm not lovable. So then that like really eats into you. And then
Yeah.
that grows into adulthood where you always feel like I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, which is also why it's hard to accept compliments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me too. Sometimes Shawnee's like, "You're beautiful," or "You're so great at this," or whatever, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah." Like, I mean, oh, thanks, but like internally, it feels kind of weird. It's like, I can't. Why are you telling me this? You know?
Yeah. I feel the same way. That I like it was until like recently that I like catch myself like doing that. I'm like, why do I do that?
It's your inner child. It's because when you were a child, something had happened, some patterns had happened, and that's why you just feel like you're not good enough, you're not lovable. Like that's really what it comes down to. And
Yeah.
so after like I've practiced it, now I'm always like I learned to give myself compassion and like tell myself like, you are lovable and that I am loving, that I am love, and I give myself like a lot of love now.
Yeah.
And like talking to my inner child because before I suppressed my inner child. I hid her. I didn't even know she existed. Like maybe when I was drunk back then it would come out, but like I didn't know it was there. When you say like you're having a hard time accepting compliments, it all goes back to childhood usually.
Mm.
Something to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really deep.
Yeah. You're talking about how your parents were very busy growing up. What did they actually do for work?
Both of them are immigrants. My mom came from Hong Kong and my dad came from China. Coming here, they had to really just relearn everything. My parents, since I was born and before I was born, opened restaurants. They had many restaurants, I think, in their lifetime, probably at least 8 restaurants on and off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad was also in construction when he first came here. He put himself into English school and ended up doing construction jobs and then eventually saved enough to build his own construction company.
That's amazing. That's like the American dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. So, my dad would always do the construction for
For the
the
restaurants.
restaurants and then my mom would run it with R&G. My dad was one of the co-founders. So he started that 40 years ago. He was actually going to do a construction job in there for for a restaurant that it was before it became R&G. But my dad saw that like the equipment was still great, and he was like, "How about I'll buy this from you instead, and let me just like do a restaurant."
Right.
R&G was just like a one-story Chinese restaurant, which eventually became a 3-story iconic
Wow.
institution. Yeah. So
Did he build out the 3 stories or like how did that all come about?
yeah, he was a part of it. He did
Um,
build out parts of it, and even to this day, whenever we do like small remodels and things like that, it's mostly like his ideas. So his construction background came in handy a lot.
wow.
So I grew up as a restaurant kid. I've always ate in their restaurants. I grew up working in their restaurants. So that's what they did. We have one restaurant remaining, which is R&G Lounge. And now I have the opportunity to carry on my family's legacy.
Okay, now let's talk about R&G Lounge. How did that come about? Because, you came from a tech background.
Yeah.
You had your 9 to 5, steady, normal, and then you decide to throw yourself into an entrepreneurship journey. And in one of the hardest industries, restaurants,
Yeah.
and not just any restaurant, it's a Chinese restaurant with all these moving parts.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot. The good and bad thing about it is that I didn't really think too much into it. So, which eventually made me realize like I really should have put more thought into it before I made this decision. But a lot of why I made the decision to do it was just because my parents have sacrificed so much to build their businesses and their restaurants, which many of them has been over 10, 20 years. R&G just celebrated their 40th years.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
thank you. So yeah, like you mentioned, I come from like a finance, accounting, and tech background. Had a really comfortable tech job, 9 to 5. I was actually living in New York, and I was just really living my life until I guess one day, I get a call from my mom. She's having a little bit of trouble with the restaurant, and it's a really hard industry. And she just was deciding to retire, and that she potentially is going to sell the restaurant. And if the opportunity came up. So this was my mom's old restaurant, Washington Bakery, which has been around for over 20 years. That was one of the restaurants I grew up working at the most. And it was just such a community place in Chinatown. So actually, after I got off that call, I kind of just thought about it and was just like, you know what? I can always get a 9 to 5 again. I packed my bags and I literally just moved back to San Francisco and just took it on. But it was so much more challenging than I could ever imagine. It really felt like I was being thrown into the ocean and just like learning how to swim. But that whole experience made me realize like though I grew up working at the restaurants, you really don't know what they go through until you're in that position. Mm-hmm. So for me, being in that position, it was just so life-changing, and it was so stressful. It was just so stressful. And I was like, I don't even know like what I'm doing, but it really taught me resilience because I had to just keep going and just figuring out things on my own, which I feel like most entrepreneurs just kind of have to do. But for me, like it was more than just a job. It was also like I wanted to help my mom. I wanted to be able to continue her legacy restaurant, but most importantly, I really wanted to be able to continue this place that was such an important factor in the community. And it has and my mom has also done a lot of community work. So the sense of community, especially Chinatown, is where I grew up, where we both grew up. Yeah. So for me, it was also just like being able to give back to the community. And I just felt like, especially at that time, this was like what 2017 or 18, many Chinatown restaurants, not just restaurants, but businesses were declining. Mm-hmm. Many of them were closing. I think a lot of the like legacy businesses there had the same issue of the owners are retiring, but their kids, all probably are educated and all have like office jobs and different jobs. They're not going to want to come back to take over like a mom and pop shop or to come back to Chinatown. So for me, that was even more of a reason why I wanted to do it, because I really do think it's like up to the next generation to be able to continue the charm and grace and preserve Chinatown. Right. But anyways, after that, COVID hit. That was a whole nother challenge in itself. And then we eventually later during COVID had the opportunity to sell. And then with R&G, like just so happens the manager was moving back to Asia or moving to Asia for another opportunity. So my dad asked if I can step in for now to help out. For now, yeah. So, I mean, I think I kind of got a little tricked into it. 5 years later, I'm still here. But honestly, it's been super rewarding. R&G also has a super, super special place in my heart because me and my family have celebrated like 4 generations of milestones there, from my grandparents to my parents, me and my siblings. I even had like my own red egg and ginger there all the way to my wedding. And then now my
Wow.
niece and nephew. So it's like really amazing when I hear like my friends are having their weddings there and then now their kids are celebrating like their birthdays or their milestones. And a lot of customers kind of have the same story. So it's just so many generations of like memories and
Right.
celebrations there. So I really am grateful for the opportunity and to be able to continue this family legacy.
R&G is definitely more than just your typical restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a memory. Like it's like a it's like trees. How trees hold so many memories of these
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of years. If R&G it was able to talk, can you imagine all the stories that
Oh,
would come
so
out of it?
many.
Yeah.
There's so many. Yeah. I think it's just like a really special place because so many locals go there and also a lot of visitors to experience like authentic Chinese food. And it's just like such a community hub. Like, not only do we just serve food, like we're a lot more than that because we hire a lot of like local residents there. We provide jobs for a lot of the
Right.
local residents around there, not only jobs but benefits as well. We also try to utilize a lot of the local vendors.
Yeah.
And we also support so many different community events, charities, try to provide also food for people living in SROs there and underprivileged in the community. So it's really like giving back to this Chinatown ecosystem.
Yeah, so R&G itself is like a ecosystem of its own.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Wow, that's amazing. Going back onto the topic of childhood, how has your childhood shaped who you are today in your adult life?
Ever since I was a kid, my parents were really involved in the community, especially my mom. She was and is still a Cantonese opera performer. So with Chinese opera, she would make me also do it and go on stage. And that really like broke me out of my shell, even though I was super shy to do it. But it also made me really appreciate like Chinese performing arts, which is also why I did lion dancing and I helped her out with a lot of her performances. She was also on the board of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. She also was the co-chair of the Miss Chinatown USA pageant, which gives like a platform for young Chinese American women to showcase their talents and inspirations, as well as learn about their culture and become ambassadors for the community. As a little kid, she would take me around to backstage and like just learning how the event was. And she would put me on stage like to hold the little basket of questions or like present the flowers to the title holders. She would also like encourage me to go do like little catwalk, well, as a kid, like as a little kid, do catwalks for charity fashion shows. And then also just like a lot of the community work she's done, which now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, actually, I do a lot of these things now.
Right, like you just straight up followed her footsteps.
So I felt like a lot of what she did has played a huge influence on me and shaped me to who I am today because I'm like, yeah, I actually followed a lot of her footsteps. She retired from the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. I actually took her place in it and I became like the youngest board member in a female in a very male dominated organization. Now 20, 30 years later, I'm co-chairing for the Miss Chinatown USA pageant. A lot of what I do at work and outside of work is very community driven as well. So I think that plays a huge sense in what I do.
So you being like the youngest and only one of the only females, I'm assuming, in these organizations and doing what you do as an entrepreneur, like what type of struggles do you go through and what type of challenges do you go through? Because I'm sure it's not easy.
I think it's really difficult, especially as a young Asian female, because a lot of times you I feel like get looked down upon. There's so many people in these organizations or, at the restaurant that are older than you, potentially has more experience than you, but you also have to understand like what you can also bring to the table. Like not everything done in the past may be the best way now. So I feel like I bring different ideas, fresh new ideas that can also have a really positive impact. A lot of the struggles also come from cultural differences because I'm an ABC, an American born Chinese. A lot of the people in these organizations and majority of my employees are all Chinese immigrants.
Right.
So we grew up with very different backgrounds. There's also somewhat of a language barrier, though my Cantonese is conversational. Sometimes it does have that barrier of cultural barriers, like the way we think and how things should be done, because they've been doing things the same way for so long. It's hard for them to accept change sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been a constant struggle.
How do you work out those barriers, or how do you overcome those challenges?
By being more understanding and just having more of an open conversation, kind of to relate back to like my childhood of like suppressing emotions and not being able to express my thoughts clearly. Like how I show up as a leader and what's important to me is for my team and for whoever I work with to feel like they're family, a part of this work family or organization family, and to feel connected, that their voices are heard, and to just have open communication, because I think it just goes a long way.
I'm sure your day to day is hectic. It's crazy. It's just always like putting out fires. I'm assuming it's just crazy. So, how do you manage your mental health, and how do you stay sane through all this madness?
Yeah, I think initially when I first started this journey, it was really hard to navigate, and I would bring a lot of stress home with which would cause, not a very comfortable environment.
Right.
Yeah, I suppressed a lot of things.
Still
Again,
going back to
yeah,
childhood.
exactly.
Yeah.
Until honestly, things got better when I learned how to just be more vulnerable and find like a group of entrepreneurial friends like you who kind of understand these struggles, and being able to like talk about it and just kind of work through things, and realizing like I don't need to like go through this on my own. Like I can ask for help. I can, share and talk about what I'm going through. You really encouraged me to journal, so I try to do that. So, just different like healthy outlets to
Release.
release the stress, because the stress is always going to be there, but the only thing you can really control is how you react to it. Exactly. So for me, it's just better handling how I react to struggles and challenges has played a big part of like why we can handle so much.
What was the shift in your mindset as to how you were like, okay, I think I needed to control my life, and it comes down to me, and it's all based on my own reaction to a situation versus like trying to control the outcome?
It's probably just when you get down to your lowest point where you feel like you're just not doing enough, when things are going bad, and like small problems just start feeling like bigger issues than it really is.
Right.
And that you just have such a negative view on things, and you just end up, or I just end up realizing like I cannot like keep living this way. And if I want my business to thrive and I want to show up as a better leader, I need to take care of myself first and be able to show up as the best version of myself. So that's what kind of shifted for me, and just talking to other entrepreneur friends, like especially like you really helped me really shift my mindset. You've encouraged me to read different books, you've and different podcasts. Like I don't even know if you know like how much you've actually really like helped shift my mindset, but I had to find a lot of distractions so that I don't think about my
Right.
problems. And those distractions actually probably just made it worse. So I would always just keep myself even more busy. I would just go out. I would, find any distraction I can so that I don't have to think about these problems until I really needed to. But that's just not a healthy way to go about it. So just being able to set time to have me time and just really reflect on everything and just honestly everything just gives you tough makes you have tougher skin. So I think that has really like shifted my mindset.
Let's talk about money because money is a big thing, right?
It
In
is.
entrepreneurship. And so I'm curious, like at your lowest point, what was that like for you?
When I first went into this entrepreneurship journey with the first restaurant, it was a struggle. There was like a lot of financial issues that I didn't realize there was, and I've taken that over. And then COVID was a big hit as well. So for a while, like there was years that I wasn't paying myself and having to like dip into my savings to put it back into the restaurant so that my employees would get paid first. It's really tough, but I think as entrepreneurs, we have to have like a very resilient mindset. We have to figure out ways to get back afloat.
Right.
So honestly, COVID like really also shift my mindset that if I just don't do anything, yeah, it's going to sink for sure.
Yeah.
So I had to really get like creative on how I can find different revenue streams in a time where I couldn't open a restaurant, where I can find resources and help. But yeah, money issues is probably one of the most stressful things an entrepreneur go through because it doesn't only affect your business, it affects your family, it affects just how you show up in life. So
Affects your employees,
just
your vendors,
yes,
all sorts of stuff. If
exactly.
you don't
Like
have cash flow, how are you going to pay everybody?
affects your whole circle. But it also like teaches you just to be smarter
Right.
about money. Of course, as entrepreneurs, you make a lot of trial and error. You do a lot of trial and error, especially when it comes to cash flow.
Yeah. And so, how's your relationship with money now?
Now I have a good relationship with money. I think before it was more like I always felt like I needed more money, like I wanted this and that and all these things. But for me now, it's like as long as I have enough money to for me to be comfortable and for me to keep like my business alive and everything paid and then some to reinvest, then I feel like I'm just really grateful for that already.
Yeah.
And anything more is just such a huge bonus. And I also don't feel the need that I need anything extravagant anymore because a lot of my focus now is so different than what it was before.
Yeah.
It's less on the materialistic things and more like about my business and the people around me and just living like a very comfortable and grateful life.
If you were to tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
I would remind myself to not carry so much of people's expectations. I think I often do things whether I want to or not because I often felt the weight of pleasing or making the people around me, especially my parents, happy. Something I would say to my younger self is that you don't have to have everything figured out right now, right away, and that things will just work out and trust the process. Things that seem difficult or challenging right now will one day be the things that make you strong, compassionate, understanding, and resilient.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Now let's tell the little Chelsea in there that.
Yeah.
All right, Chelsea. So, what is next for Chelsea Hung? What is next for R&G? How are you going to continue preserving the history of Chinatown and your family's legacy?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest hopes right now is to continue my family's legacy, but not only just maintaining it, but growing it.
Mm.
I really, want to grow this brand, not only just want to just maintain the iconic R&G Lounge and to continue to have a space where people can continue to have great traditional Cantonese food and celebrate milestones. I also want to be able to preserve R&G so that it lasts for the next generations. Some of the goals I have is to expand R&G Lounge, whether it's creating new products under that brand or potentially opening a new concept to, share our food and culture and the history to even a wider range of people.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I want to do is just continue my community work, continue, being able to lead future generations of Asian American women. So whether it's career or community work, I just want to continue to honor the past while build for the future.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Well, we look forward to that,
Thank
Chels.
you.
Yeah, can't wait and so excited for all that's to come. And thank you so much for being here. This was amazing. Really enjoyed hearing your story and it's so inspiring. You're going to continue inspiring a bunch. I was thinking millions. I'm like millions of people out there.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal and you definitely will get there. We'll do it
Thank
together.
you. Thanks for letting me be here and being able to share my story.
How are you going to continue preserving the historic history of Chinatown?
Let me just take a look at my notes real quick.
I said historic history. That's fine, right?